I've lived a weird life. Like it's not the craziest, it's not the most tragic or anything like that, but I have a lot of stories.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm gonna have to decide whether or not I'm going to share them.
Well, I mean, I'm right there with you, man. I mean, I haven't
Yeah.
exactly had the most epic life either, but I've had a few weird moments that have informed upon my experience, and that's probably why you and I have been friends for so long, is because
Cause you-
we're both the similar kind of weird, where we're like, it's like, yeah, yeah, oh, I guess that isn't a normal experience to have. Okay, yeah.
oh man,
I see. I
when I
see
was down
why.
in
I
LA,
see why I
oh
shouldn't have
man.
brought that story up on a first date. Okay, yeah. I thought I
I've had a
was.
few of
I
those.
thought. Yeah. Like I. It's like I shook your hand and said hello, and you looked at me weird. I felt the need to explain. Apparently, that was the wrong move.
I remember, oh man, because we've all had that moment where it's like you're sitting down, we're with a group of people, we're all having fun, everybody's sharing stories, and you think the story you're about to share is on par with everybody else's, and then you have half the table looking at you like, do you need a hug? And the other half the table going like, why the fuck would you tell somebody that? It's like,
Oh, I know. Yeah.
like,
Yeah. No, I had that happen
come
once.
on, it's not that bad a story. They're like, that's a bad story, and I'm like,
I
okay.
thought, yeah, I thought this was I thought this was an amusing anecdote that was in par for like. I think I even I wrote about it once. I'm trying to remember if this story ever got published or not. I don't think it did, but I did write a story about telling a story at the wrong moment. I was at a friend's going away party, basically. An old high school friend, him and his wife were moving to France, and they were having a big party as a going away party. And I show up there, and I am a stranger. Like my friend from high school and me, we know each other from high school. Nobody else there knows me. I've never met his wife before. I've never met any of these other people at the table before. And like they start talking world travel stories because they're leaving for France, and so they're swapping stories, and somehow, you know how these conversational things happen, somehow a theme starts running where not only they're talking about travel stories, but they're talking about really bad bathroom experiences in travel. And that's when I go, ooh, I've got one. A bad I've got a story I can contribute to this roundtable discussion.
All
And
right.
so I go like, oh hey, and I even confirmed, but like after, there were like three in a row, and I kind of jump in, and I go, okay, so just to make sure, we're all telling bad poop stories overseas, right? That's what we're talking about now, like. And everyone just kind of goes like, dude, you, really? And I go, because if that's what we're talking about, I got one. I got a bad poop story that and they're like, okay, go ahead. And so I tell a story about the time I got, I ate this like weird Chinese vegetable that gave me the most horrendous diarrhea that I like honestly should have killed me.
What was the
And
vegetable? What
after
was it? What was it? What was it?
I don't
Dude,
know.
you lived in
I
China. You never found it again?
No, I found it again. I didn't learn its name. I but that no. So what happens is I'm dating this Chinese girl, and
In
she's
China.
she's
Weird.
yeah. It You'd be surprised how many foreigners hook up there, because the Chinese folks are very weird about dating, especially when they're dating foreigners. So
I know next to nothing about China.
so I'm dating this chick there in China,
Mm-hmm.
and she's made dinner, breakfast actually, and and there's this various plates, and there's this one vegetable, and I take a bite, and I'm like, oh, this is really good. And she goes, oh yeah, no, this, and it's good for you. You should have more. It cleans your blood out, is what she says. It cleans your blood out. I'm like, I'm thinking, okay, in broken English, she's trying to tell me it's an antioxidant, and so it's good for
Right?
me. Is what
Yeah.
I'm thinking. So I'm like, all right, cool, yeah. And so I just shovel a whole plate of this shit in my face, and it's tasty. And she's like sauteed it in garlic, and it's wonderful. And then she's like, all right, I'm gonna go take a shower. She goes and takes a shower, and then I'm sitting there, I'm on her computer playing Minesweeper, and then all of a sudden, it's like apparently there's this sort of like natural Chinese medicine sort of concept that cleaning your blood out means cleaning your bowels out.
So not
And
lost in translation, but she actually like that is actually how that was
that's like
supposed to be said.
right, yes,
Okay.
exactly. It's a
All
very
right.
it's a very like naturopathic, sort of like ancient Chinese way of thinking
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah. So I realized that, like, I'm sitting there at the computer, and I realize I am literally about to shit right there. Like, I barely clench in time to stop myself from shitting on her office chair. And I'm too, like, even though, yes, we have been dating, yes, I am there having breakfast, I'm still not confident enough in our relationship for me to interrupt her while she's having a shower.
For that.
Especially not for that, because I know what's about to come out of me. I don't want any witnesses,
Yep.
specifically not a woman who I hope to sleep with again. so
Sure. Sure.
so I try to just sort of mental it. I just sit there and go, it's like, I'm one with the universe, kind of, like, just, mind and body, mind and body, mind and body. I am in control. It's not working. So I'm like knocking on the door, going like, "Hey, I need to use the bathroom," and she's like, "Yeah, I'll be a minute." I'm like, "No, I mean I really need to use the bathroom right now." And she's like, and she does come out, and she's like, "What's the problem?" And I go, I literally grab her, pull her out of the bathroom, go, "I'll explain later." And
Chivalry.
I'm not kidding. It came out of me so hard and fast, I almost passed out right there. Just, and also, this is in China. They don't have toilets, they have holes in the floor. So I'm balancing on the balls of my feet and slowly going unconscious as this fire hose is coming out of me. And then
What was
yeah,
the
so
reaction at the party?
utter fucking silence. I tell the story, and I go I even capped it off with, and then like 2 weeks later we're at a restaurant, and we're having dim sum, and she passes me, and yeah, and I go, "Oh, this is really good," and she goes like, "Oh yeah, no, I've made that for you before. It cleans your blood out," and I'm like, I flung it across the room. Spit out what was in my mouth, and she's like, "What?" So that's how I capped off the story. And then I lean back, I'm like, "All right, the end, story over." And I'm looking around the room, and everybody's staring at me, and I'm seeing it in their eyes. They're all going, "Who's this guy again? Like, why?" And like almost like they're looking at each other like, "Is he with you? Did you invite him? Like, are we sure?" Are we sure that he's supposed to be here? Did a homeless man come in and describe this story to us? My friend Chris, the one person I know there, the guy from high
Mm-hmm.
school, he just all of a sudden, like, it's dead silence, and then he just busts out laughing. He's not laughing at my story. He's laughing at the silence. He's
Yep.
clued in as to what's happened. He loses his shit laughing that I just told this story, horrified everyone at the table, horrified his wife. And I kind of like, in literal, no one said a word. There wasn't even like, no one tried to break the silence. No one went like, "Wow, that's a strange story, moving on." Like, no one did that. They all just continued sitting there staring at me while Chris laughed his ass off. And so after like a minute of that, I just kind of stood up and went like, "Well, it was great meeting y'all," and I left.
What
Yep.
was
I
it
walked
about
that.
that story that got them?
I mean, I went into a lot more detail than just now,
Okay,
so
that might be it.
that might have played into it. But yeah, so
We've all been there, man. We've all been there. I was uh, I was sitting there one time with a professional, and I had a few drinks, and we started talking about actors that um, their careers got destroyed by one decision, one move, they just did one thing,
mm,
and I must have had one or two too many drinks because I told the story of what happened to Dustin Diamond,
Dustin Diamond.
Screech from Saved by the Bell.
Oh, I am
And
only vaguely familiar with what happened to him. I
oh,
was never a Saved by the Bell fan, so when the subjects came up, I just kind of went like, I don't care. So I don't entirely know that story. Hello, Kitty.
no, that is fair. I'm trying to figure out if there's a way that I can tell this story. Fine. It's not NSFW, dude. Uh, oh, fuck it. All right, so Dustin Diamond, Screech from Saved by the Bell. He did a pornography wherein he did something that they call a dirty Sanchez to a woman.
Okay, I think I did hear about that. Yes, yeah.
Yes, I told that story, and the whole time I was sitting there, I was like, I was kind of checking in with the people around me too, because I remember this. I looked at the woman that I was dating at the time, and I was like, this can't be okay? And she was just like, hmm. She's like, she's kind of like urged me on to tell the story, and I was like, all right, yeah, I'll tell the story. So I told the story, and I don't think I ever heard from anybody at that dinner ever again. Yeah. But you know what I'm referring to, correct?
Vaguely, it does sound familiar when you use those keywords. Yes, some, which is
Uh,
strange.
to hell with it. I mean, it's somewhat late at night. Screech from Saved by the Bell stuck his finger up his butt
The
and
kids
then
are in
drew a
bed.
mustache.
Let's do this.
Yeah, the Screech from Saved by the Bell. He stuck his finger up his butt and then he drew a mustache on a woman's upper lip with poop particles.
Yeah.
And it, yeah,
I the thing about
it's understandable
the
that
thing about
going from
these
Screech to doing that,
right,
you don't have a career.
right.
So that's why I told that story. It's because that's one of the career-ending moments that I am aware of. It is also a story with shock value, which, if you know me well enough, those are my favorite stories.
It's entertaining to the right crowd.
Yes, I did not know my audience well enough. Because you gotta remember, I came from small town, country boy, veteran, middle of the fucking desert, telling stories nobody should hear.
Yeah,
Like we like you
that's
did
basically
you made you did
where you
yeah.
grew up. That's a preschool parable, is what that is. Kids, don't do this.
Thank you. Okay. All right. All right. I wasn't sure which direction you were heading with that, and I was like, all right, I kind of want to see where this lands.